How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. So today we're with Kelly, and she's going to guide us through the pros and the cons of if you're becoming a counselor or if you're in that transition from school counseling to be a counselor with private practice, LPC, and all of that. Kelly is here with us and she's going to guide us through the process. What do you need to do and the pros and the cons? So, Kelly, thank you so much for being here. That's a question that we often have. Should I stay in the school setting? Should I switch? Should I do something else with my life? So, Kelly, tell us a little bit about your experience and what is the difference between school counselors and the role or the pros and the cons, however you want to explain it.
Okay. Yes, I do get a lot of school counselors, friends of mine and colleagues that ask about what the pros and cons are of becoming a regular licensed counselor, like a LPC, for example. Um, I think a lot of school counselors nowadays get burnt out, and that's why they choose to leave the school setting and move along to private practice. A lot of counselors also may have it as their second career. So maybe they're in school while their children are in school and they like the hours and the breaks and all that a little bit better. But then they want to have a little more flexible schedule after their kids are out of school. So those are just some different ideas that I've heard about why somebody might switch. But the biggest difference between a school counselor and a licensed professional counselor is the role in which you play. So whenever you're a school counselor, you provide a role to that school that is different than a classroom teacher or an administrator. You are there to support social emotional learning. You're there to support mental health. You're also there to advocate for students. You're there to advocate for teachers. You're there to advocate for your program as a school counselor. And so there's a lot of different hats that you wear as a school counselor versus a licensed professional counselor. You get to counsel all day long. And that's all you do. You don't have all the extra fluffy roles that a school counselor plays. You may not have as much time spent on other duties that aren't lined out in your counseling role. So I know at school sometimes, even as teachers and as school counselors, we end up with duties that are outside of our scope of what we're supposed to be doing. And, you know, as a team player, we pitch in and we do it anyways, because that's what team players do and that's what good employees do. And we're counselors, we have big hearts, we love to help people. So we're going to do all those extra things and help. But with a regular licensed professional counselor, you're going to be working just with your clients. And yes, you have paperwork with the clients, but it's different. It's not anything outside of counseling. It's counseling, the whole world of counseling at your fingertips if you're a licensed professional counselor.
Kelly, I love it. Thank you. I want to point out a couple of things that you said, and you were talking about the burnout. Honestly, that's why most of the school counselors right now are experiencing the load is heavy. They were saying that at Texas, they're going to pass a new bill that it says like for every 300 students, we should have a second or third counselor in your campus. Unfortunately, that's not the reality. And like you were saying, you have to wear a bunch of hats and you're a good team player and you do all the things that you need to do for your students and your faculty and your staff. But it's causing that most of the school counselors want to flip or switch into private practice. And
Yes.
that's why most of them wants to be like certified. And then the idea came out because the more and more I talk to other school counselors, the more and more I hear that everyone, if they didn't have their credits, they're going back to get those credits done and doing their practice. And there's a couple of shortcuts that I would like you to explain in a little bit about how we can get those hours while you're working in a school setting. The other part that I love that you said, it was when you were talking about the clients, when usually what happens is you get into the school counseling and you think that you're going to be only taking care of their students or maybe your faculty and your staff once in a while, and then not necessarily you think about all the other additional duties or roles that you're going to have throughout the school year in a limited amount of time, and maybe with not too much flexibility and tons of cases overlapping one on top of the other one, or so many different crises. I wanted to ask you, what could you do if you want to have your licensed professional counselor certification. What do you need to do? If you
Okay,
went to
so
college for that, or however you want to get started.
well, it used to be in Texas, the 48-hour program was very popular. So everybody got 48 hours to become a school counselor. That was what the minimum credits were. Well, nowadays it's 60. And as long as you have your 60 full credit hours, then you'll have the availability to sit for the NC, the National Counselor Exam, and pass that test to become a licensed professional counselor associate. If you do not have your 60 hours, they do have some bridge programs available. A lot of these are online programs. Sometimes if you go back to your original college that you completed your school counseling program, you can ask them. A lot of those bridge programs are being closed. I've noticed there's not as many available as there used to be, especially if you have less than the 48 hours. So with the
Yes.
track that I was on, it was an overlap. So when I was at Lamar University, most of the people that I was graduating with were only getting their 48 hours, but I stayed the extra 12 hours so that I would have the availability to do both, which I'm
Smart.
so thankful I did because it's been a nice road for sure. But I do have several friends that wanted to do the LPC track, but they weren't able to because their bridge program wasn't available at their school. They tried to go to a different school and it was a lot of money, or they didn't have the right credits to match with this credit and that credit. So it's kind of a headache sometimes, but if you can look for one and you can find the program that fits your needs, then I think it's definitely worth it for sure. So once you've gotten your credits and you graduate with your additional 12 hours and you complete that program, then you can apply to take the NCE. And if you're going to take the National Counselor exam, I highly recommend the Purple Book. They call it the Purple Book.
The purple book. Okay, I'm
And
gonna
I
take
believe it's
notes
by
of that too.
Rosenthal. Yes, so the Purple Book. I think it's by Rosenthal, but it's the best book ever. It has all the questions and answer choices, and it has an audio set that goes with it. And I used to drive over an hour one way to work, so I would listen to it on the way to work, on the way back home, on the way to work, on the way back home. And I did that for 6 months, and I was able to pass my exam, thankfully. So that was exciting.
Yay,
But
yay,
I felt
yay,
very
yay.
prepared after doing that program. But anyways, once you do that, then you have to find an LPC supervisor. And that is someone that is registered to the state through the license board as a supervisor.
Oh, and let
And
me pause you real quick. Sorry to
oh,
interrupt
okay.
you. I wanted to say that the situation of the 48 hours happened to me, and I went back to my college and they say, nope, we're not accepting that no more. You have to start like from scratch, all the another master's degree. And I was like, whoa,
Oh.
that was not what I was expecting. So that's what's been holding me back a little bit for a couple of things. And when now that you're talking about the oh my god, I forgot the name, your supervisor,
Mm-hmm.
please also include the prices a little
Oh,
bit.
yes.
Talk to us about the range and
Yes.
and the rates of all of them.
Well, finding LPC supervisor is a important task because you want to find somebody that believes the same way you do, has the same values, and has the same end goal as you're looking for. So if you're wanting to become more versed in family practice, for example, then you'll want to find someone that can give you that type of guidance. If you want to find somebody that's more geared towards, marriage and family, or maybe more geared towards addiction counseling, then
Mhm.
you'll want to find someone that can give you those experiences. With the counselor that I'm using, my LPC supervisor, she is also a school counselor, but she has her private practice on the side. So it's easier for her to relate to what I'm doing because she's also a school counselor. So the
Mm.
other thing that's really nice with an LPC supervisor is depending on what they approve, if they approve your school counselor hours, you can get all of your 3,000 hours while you're a school counselor as you're working on your 40-hour work week, which is very nice.
Can you
But
repeat that again? So some of them can, sometimes we need friendly reminders to stay on task.
so if you have a licensed professional counselor supervisor,
Hmm.
not all of them agree in the same way. So some of them will approve your school counselor hours and some of them will not. You have to find one that's willing to approve your internship hours to be used while you're working.
Mm-hmm.
And if you would like to do that, then you can definitely find one out. They're out there and
Yes.
they're very helpful. The one that I see that I work with, she provides group supervision every month.
Okay.
So you're going to meet with them. You have to meet with them 4 hours a month. So 1 hour for every week of your internship hours. So sometimes she'll make that a 2 hour group supervision meeting once a month, and then we'll meet twice again at 1 hour each to cover the rest of our 4 hours for that month. But group supervision is really nice because you get to hang out with other people that are on the same road as you are and get their
Mm-hmm.
experiences. Some of them are from different school districts. Some of them are in the work at mental hospital facilities. Some of
Mm-hmm.
them are in private practice already. So it's really nice just to kind of get other people's experiences to add to your own toolbox. So that's
Love
part
it.
of what the LPC supervision looks like. Now, you were talking about pricing. So typically for the supervision pricing, most the average is usually about $120 a week. But my supervisor is a lot less than that. It depends on which one you're finding, but the average is usually $100 to $120 a week. Mine's only $50 a week. So there also are some
Good.
supervisors that will work with you if you see some of their clients. Instead of them offering you payment to see their clients, they'll deduct that from your supervision fee every month.
Oh, I didn't know that part.
Mhm.
That's
Yes.
really interesting. So they will deduct that. I also heard that some ratings can go up to $500, 650, depending of where you go. So
On a per
whenever
month.
per month. Yes, in that
Mm-hmm.
case will be per month. So it's very important that if you're thinking about getting your LPC certification, that you take in consideration and make a budget or a plan how you're gonna support yourself. If you have
Yes,
someone who can sponsor you, perfect. But if you don't, you need to make a budget and make sure that you have the amount per month or per week, the amount needed. If you don't have the money, what are the things that you need to do? If you need to do a different budget at home and eat less out and dine in your house, just make those adjustments that you may need to achieve your goal.
yes. And also, some supervisors will allow you to work that extra job, if you will. So
Mm-hmm.
let's say you're a school counselor by day, and then by night you see some of their clients. Or sometimes what you can do is you can go work at a mental facility on the weekends or at night. You can work for another private practice on the weekends and at night, and just let them know that you already have a supervisor. You don't have to work at their practice. You can work at somebody else's practice. And the other practice may hire you as an associate, and then you just use your regular supervisor as your for your supervision hours.
And you will get a salary as well. The
Mm-hmm.
rates, it's gonna be less what you're gonna be earning, but you will earn money as you go in the.
Yes, so that's another way to contribute to your supervision monthly fee. Now, I know you had wanted to know a little bit about the process. So once you have taken your test, then you have to get your 3,000 hours. So that's 1,500 direct supervision hours and 1,500 indirect supervision hours. So indirect client hours, I'm sorry,
Mhm.
and direct client hours. And if you can take it as little as 18 months, but you can't go past 5 years. So you have a window there.
It's not like you can take forever doing your
No.
hours because I met different type of personalities and people. And I'm the type of person that if I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna dive in right away and I'm gonna do it like fast pace, as fast as I can. But I know that other type of personalities, or also if there's like family situations or different things that can happen, I know that there's people that would take longer, and but you don't want to pass that limit time of the 5 years so you don't lose your hours. Saying that, something funny, I started my doctorate degree at Puerto Rico a long time ago, but I never finished it. So that's why I was like, or I dive in, but then I had Adrian, my son, and I was like, okay, maybe this is not for me now. But I was aware that if I wouldn't continue, I would lose those credits. Like that's pointless. That now I cannot use them. So long story short, by saying that, just be mindful of what you're doing, your actions, and be mindful that so far as 2023, as today, you have only 5 years to get it done
Correct.
because life happens, but you know how is
Yeah.
it. Let me see. Can you share? I noticed that you have the inside out over there pillows. That's so beautiful. I love it with all the emotions. So what do you think is your highlight in your school counseling job, and what is a highlight in your counselor job in your other in private practices, babies, basically? Okay, what are the highlights from each one, and what sometimes take you down in both areas? If you can share a highlight and something that maybe sometimes takes you down a little bit in your path.
Okay. So for school counseling, my favorite part is obviously getting to work with the kiddos. I love doing guidance lessons. I love seeing them individually. I love the small groups. I love the lunch bunches. Those are my highlights of the day. I just love being with the kids. And I love being with the teachers too, because I do get to see teachers sometimes whenever they're having things that they need to work through. We do that as school counselors too. So that's always nice.
Bunch of mini hats.
Yes, all the hats. That's my favorite part of being a school counselor is just getting to be with the kids as much as possible. Probably the low part is all of the extra non-counseling related duties that they have piled onto our plate. Which hopefully with Senate Bill 179 with the
Yes.
80/20 rule that will decrease because they are going to start auditing school districts next year, I hear.
Yes.
So
I
that
share a
will be
video
nice.
about that too.
Yes.
Yes.
So that'll be nice. Hopefully we'll get some things accomplished after that. But it does get a little daunting having to tell a student, I'm sorry, honey, I can't see you right now. I have a deadline. I have to get this done. Or they don't quite understand, or you might have benchmarks coming up or STAR tests, and you're having to help with that. And then you can't get to the student because they're not in a crisis situation. So you can wait on them just a little bit, at least you hope you can. Those are the low parts, is not knowing all the extra little things that have to be done and having to get all that completed and trying to balance that with senior students. That's the hard part for school counseling. So for a regular counselor, for licensed professional counselors, the highlight would be getting to work with clients all day long. Like you literally just get to do counseling. There's none of that extra stuff. But I think the low part of it is with school counseling, you're building up a relationship with those students year after year after year, with families, even, when their siblings come through. And if you're at a school for a really long time, you'll build all these relationships with all these students that you have. With the regular counseling world, you may see them one week and then the next week they'll be gone and you'll never know what happens to them. They just disappear. They never call you. They never say, hey, I'm going to go find another counselor, or hey, I don't need you anymore. And then you're just left hanging. You don't know what happened to them. I think that's probably the lowest point of your professional counselor.
Love it. Thank you. Thank you, Kitty, for being so honest. Have you ever considered being a Christian counselor? That's another thing that I even thought about it, and I'm been investigating kind of the pros and the cons. Where should I go? What is the right decision? Praying a lot over that. Where should I be? What should I do? And what are my action steps? Do you know anything about that? Or have you ever heard about that? Or
I have. So Christian counseling, they have a different, I'm not quite sure all the credentials, but I know the credentials are a little bit different.
Yes, that was a random question that we didn't plan. I know.
That's okay.
It was, be just being spontaneous and natural here.
I'm not sure about all the credentials for the Christian counselor, but I do know what's nice is if you are a licensed professional counselor, you can still practice in a Christian profession of faith. You can still be a Christian counselor, but it wouldn't be labeled, necessarily Christian counseling. If you do Christian counseling, then that might limit the type of clientele that you get to see.
It's true. It's true. That's a great point of view. Thank you. So, well, Kelly, I'm super excited to have the pleasure to meet with you, and I hope that all our subscribers and those who didn't subscribe yet subscribe. Kelly, do you know that I have like 96% of the people that's watching is not subscribing? They need to subscribe. Yes, and the thumbs up and the whole thing. And the other thing is, like, I love when you said about finding a supervisor. that have your same core values, I think that even happens in our works every day. You need to make click. Same old that the patient needs to make click with us, the students need to connect with us. I feel that that's the same way. And you will get the best experience if both of you are aligned in the same vision or the same way. I think amazing things can happen when we're synced or in tune, right?
Yes.
Together. And you will get the experience. And also you can discover, oh, yes, this is for me, or maybe the opposite. No, this is definitely not for me. And you
Yes.
get to encounter like real scenarios of what you need to do and all of that. Well, Kelly, do you have anything else to share with us
So I
today?
think if you're going to become a licensed professional counselor, if that's what you are looking into, definitely take a look and make a list of all the pros and cons that would be to stay a regular school counselor, to move into LPC, or to do both at the same time, if that's something that you're interested in doing. But definitely sit down with your loved ones, make a list, find out what works best for you, because at the end of the day, ultimately, if you're not happy in your profession, then your clients aren't going to be happy either. Your students aren't going to be happy either, because they're going to feel that stuffiness and that stress that you have going on. It's going to pour out into what you do. So just make sure that it works for you and works for your family, and go from there.
Oh, well, Kelly, I hope that we will see you soon here for another video, part 1, part 2, or part 3. And let us know
Yeah.
under the comments below if you have any questions for Kelly or for me. And we'll be happy to answer them as soon as we can. Well, that's all for today. Thank you very much. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.